Ay, qué bonita te ves con tu vestido blanco. Ay, qué bonita te ves.
Do you have it on loop? All right. We're still sharing. Did you put it on loop?
Si la llegan a ver, si quiere ya volver, que ni lo piense. Díganle que el amor que yo le daba ayer hoy no se vende. Y aunque a mi corazón ya lo enseñó a olvidar, ya no la quiere. Aunque no hay que negar que lo hizo hasta llorar, ya no la quiere. ¿Para qué voy a negarlo? Tú eres dueña de mi amor. Pero yo soy un rebelde, pero yo soy un rebelde y prefiero mi dolor. Ay, qué bonita te ves con tu vestido blanco. Ay, qué bonita te ves.
Hello, hello, hello. Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Hello, Lori Jean. I cannot hear you, Lori Jean. You're muted.
Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm muted. Let me unmute myself and
All right. We have a special show, Lori Jean, and we've got our guest. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming in. And those of you that are going to be watching on YouTube later and on Tejano TV, just wanted to let you all know that Tejano TV just notified us that we have our own little channel. So isn't that cool? Isn't that cool, Lori Jean?
yeah, that
You
is
can watch
really
us all day long.
You can watch our guests if you miss their stories and their, all this really awesome history that we get to share that you guys impart with us, and people get to watch it whenever. So Thanks for joining us today, Mr. Johnny Hernandez.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my brother's godparents who think the world of you. And, it's incredible that you have had a friendship with them since the 60s, and we'll get more into that story and what you were doing since the 60s. So shout out to Jimmy and Terry Rodriguez. They're watching right
They're
now.
wonderful people, wonderful people.
Yes, they are. And oh my gosh, the name of the town they live in is eluding me at the moment. So I can't think of
Orange
it right
City.
now. Carn
Orange City?
City. Yes, you're right. Yes, and yes, we have we have some people joining us, and I apologize. Bobby Castañeda, hello, and Alex. Alex says saludos también to Johnny. I'll call you tomorrow, brother.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
And Bobby, I'm sorry I missed your message. Gigi is working on something for us really quickly. There we are, Bobby. Hello, Gigi, Lori Jean, and Johnny Hernandez. So thanks for joining us.
I'm back. My eyes started tearing like crazy. This crazy weather. All right. Yes, saludos to everybody that's joining us. We would like to spend saludos to everybody that's watching. Lori Jean, you want to do me the honors of introducing our special guest?
Yes. So, as we mentioned before, Mr. Johnny Hernandez is an icon in himself of La Onda Tejana. You started, sir, in the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. And, you along with your famous familia, you guys changed so much. I don't even want to say change, like you established the tone for La Onda and all that means, and thank you for joining us. I don't think what I could say would actually capture a complete introduction of you. So we'll let
I'll help you a little bit, Lori Jean, because we were talking a little bit before we came on, and our guest said, "I didn't know you sang." I said, "Well, yeah, I sang, and but the thing is, I was under the shadow of Juan Guerrero, which I was fine." But and Mr. Johnny Hernandez said, "I know a little bit about that." So
Yes.
take it away, Mr. Johnny Hernandez.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much, and I really am happy to be here with you. And it's it's a long story and a long career that I never really dreamed that it would last this long. Uh, you think about as a little boy, you dream about doing something on stage. When I was a kid picking cotton, it's funny because I never did the process of, okay, how am I going to do this? How do I begin? All I thought about it was me singing to an audience, and things have a way of, working themselves out. And it's several dreams that have come true because of the Great Spirit, Dios, and that went on for decades. And like you said, gracias a Dios, myself, little Joe, my brother, later on, Rocky joined us, my brother Rocky, But Joe and I started from the very beginning of Tejano music. And I always like to credit Isidro Lopez as the godfather of Tejano music, who created it. And when I say we, bands like Lil Joe and the Latinaires, Sonny Osuna and the Sunliners, Agustin Ramirez, Joe Bravo, and a lot of other bands from the 60s that followed suit with what Isidro did. And without realizing it, we were creating a genre of music, Tejano music. And there's conjunto music, the Tejano, And my favorite conjunto has always been Tone La Rosa and other conjuntos like Agapito Zuniga and Conjunto Bernal and so many. But it's conjunto, and there's Tejano music was born when it was created by Ciro Lopez with horns. And a horn band is Tejano music. And then it developed in the late 80s or 90s into what is a, um, different form of Tejano music. I like to call it modern Tejano music or smooth Tejano music with grupos, that have the electronics. And I've used electronics and I've used the people, the musicians, because I like to do different things in the studio. But again, it was created, in 1956 by Ciro Lopez, and there was already the band called David Coronado and the Latineers. David Coronado was her cousin, and Joe was in the band, and it was just a four-piece group. And when David had to leave to go to the service, or I'm not sure where he went, Joe took over the band, and it became Little Joe and the Latineers. And then I joined. I started sitting in with anybody that would let me sing, including yeah, including Little Joe and the Latineers. And I would sing "Just a Dream" by Jimmy Clanton and other
Oh,
songs
wow.
that were on top 40. I credit "Just a Dream" as the song that kicked off my career in music because I would sing it, and I developed a little fan base, and I do it with Joe and Little Joe and the Latineers. And then in '62, I became a member, and been doing it since professionally, But it goes back to the beginning, and it's still going on, and it's a beautiful art form of music that I'm really proud of being a part of.
You're a part of create, not only creating it, shaping it, and developing it, and that's what's so
Yeah.
amazing to have you here with us. You just gave us a little history lesson. That sounds like it should be in a curriculum. If
Right?
somebody had to go back and talk about the beginning of it,
Yeah.
exactly what you just said. Something that stands out to me though,
I,
because
I did a
oh, I'm sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
No, when you're talking about history, as I was part of a panel, and Carlos Guzman was there, and Sunny Ozuna, uh, about 4 or 5 years ago in Austin, and Ruben Ramos, compadre Ruben Ramos was there, and a couple of other artists. And I wrote an 8-page history of Tejano music and explaining the process of changing from what it used to be orquestas before it was Tejano music. Orquestas like Luis Alcaraz de Mexico, Tommy Dorsey, Frank Sinatra with Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey and all that. And they were doing cha-cha-chas, mambos, and Cherry Pink and Apple Blossom White. They were doing covers on the English market and boleros and all of that. Isidro did uh, the reversal thing, which, like Frank Sinatra and other singers in the beginning, would be guest singers, and the orchestra would play instrumentals, and then the singer would get up and sing one or two songs, and then go back to the side, you know. And orquestas Beto Villa, Juan Colorado, and a couple of other big name orchestras out of Texas that were doing that. Um, and they would have artists sing a song or two and then go back to the side and more instrumentals, and then sing another song or so. Well, Isidro reversed the process. Uh, he made it an all vocalist performance with a couple of instrumentals. He literally reversed it, and it went from a 18, 20-piece orchestra down to like a 12-piece band, and that's how Tejano music came to be. to be. In 1956, he recorded Díganle of all songs, believe it or not, and he recorded it with Juan Colorado. And este, then later on, I did it with Little Joe, and I believe the Latineers. I don't think we were La Familia yet. And then I did it on my own with Bob Gallarza, produced it for me. And of
Oh,
course, the
yeah.
latest recording was with Chen. But that was a process that went from the big orchestras that were playing all that mambos and cha-cha-chas and boleros and covering the English market and all of that to the Tejano format. Este, and then, of course, there was Alfonso Ramos, the great Alfonso Ramos, and so many orchestras that the mold was created from 1956 to 1967, I would say, the template for Tejano music, and then other bands came in and not only played it but enhanced it, embellished it, embellished it,
We should have
and
reminded our guests to
continued
bring
with
out notes and a notepad so they could write all this history down.
Yes.
Very
yeah.
valuable
But that
information.
yeah, and it continues. But
I have mine.
and
My teacher brain. I have my notes. I don't play with that
yeah,
stuff. No.
I'm gonna email you that 8 page. I call it the history of Tejano music and the process and
That
who
would
were
be
the
an
orchestras.
excellent. I
Yes.
actually really need that
Yeah,
right now. So
with
thank you.
Beto Villa included.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. I did a little
Uh-huh.
homework on you, and I saw also that you were very much involved with La Raza, with Cesar Chavez, and all that. Because we've talked to a lot of pioneers and legends, and they always talk about how the tours that they would make all over the United States were they call them the migrant tours, and they would speak to
Yeah.
all the migrants.
The migrant circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they would go to all the camps and stuff, and that speaking also that the Mexican influence with the Spanish language, and we're also Americans, and we're being influenced, like you said, by orchestras, by jazz, by rock, by the Beatles. I understand you're a
Yes.
Beatles fan as well. So
Oh yeah.
all that influence just comes together to make what we now call Tejano. And you're just giving us specifics as to how it came about. So thank you for that. And
You just explained it very well.
Good job, Gigi.
You explained it very well because we call ourselves Chicanos, Mexican Americans, but we really should call ourselves American Mexicans, you know, because we're Americans and our parents came from Mexico, Mexican descent. So as
yeah,
the Chicanos, but growing up in America, uh, when I was born, I was actually born at home in a black neighborhood. So I don't know if I heard Mariachi Conjunto and José Alfredo Jiménez, Miguel Aceves Mejía, Los Alegres de Terán,
Oh, yeah.
all of that, or I heard the blues and the R&B and the big band. I don't know which came first because we grew up listening to all of that. And
yeah.
a Chicano band, a Chicano band, uh, because we are Americans and we grew up with all these influences. I mean, even as the little girl in the Latin years, you listen to the horn riffs that were designed like from off of a big band orchestras that do all those horn riffs, and then we had the guitar, doing some solos, American solos, and that is your Tejano band, because we grab from all the different genres of music that we grew up loving.
I heard somebody refer to us as Americans of Mexican descent. I think that would be the most accurate.
Hmm.
Americans of
Yes,
Mexican descent, and that would, yeah, engulf it. Um,
exactly.
so, why are you musicians? I mean, you are out there, you are active. Where does it come from? Because anybody that's a musician, ya lo tienen la familia, ya lo tienen la sangre. They're already doing this. El abuelo, el papá, el tío. Talk to us about that.
Well, my father and his brother were troubadours, and they both played guitar and sang harmonies. And growing up around that at the house, our doors were never locked. People were coming in and out all the time. And weekends, of course, había mucha gente en la casa, and Pop and his brother La Araña, well, we call him La Araña, and the Pop was called La
We
Cotorra.
talked about that.
My father was, yeah, my father was Salvador, and his brother, Demetrio. But they were known as La Cotorra y La Araña. And they
Wow.
played guitars and sang duets. Joe and I did. And we just sat around and listened to them all the time. And later on, when we became a band and started recording, some of the early songs were songs that we learned from them. And even now, on one of my most, well, I say recent, a couple of years ago, that I recorded one of the songs that I learned from listening to Pop sing La Valentina, for example. All that comes from listening to Pop and his brother sing at home. And then they would go out and sing at bars and quinceaneras and fiestas. And they became quite popular in their own right.
Wow.
Este, and that's how we picked it up. It was just a
It
Yep.
was
kind of
in
a
your home.
natural
It was
thing
in
to
your
do.
home. I love
Where?
that. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No, go
Gigi.
ahead.
I know we're going to talk about, and sometime in this interview, we're excited to share some news later on. You've accomplished so much, and I love. Thank you for putting together what you're saying. From the beginning of Tejano music, but as I don't know, I'm fascinated with the stories of everybody has something a little different. I love that it's very what's similar is you heard it in your home, like Gigi mentioned. It was around you. You heard your dad singing it. I know
Yes.
most of the songs I learned growing up were because my parents loved to listen to that music, and then my dad. I always knew all my dad's songs. But something that fascinates me
Yeah,
is
of course.
you mentioned. Let's go back a little bit to little Johnny, because you were talking about school. Because we were talking about how we were both teachers, and you said growing up in school. What is that connection of how you go from being a young man and then yes, you're influenced in your family, you hear the music, it's obviously in your blood, it's in your DNA.
Uh-huh.
You can't, everyone we speak to says
It
they
is.
could do
Yeah.
nothing else, that there's nothing else that they could see themselves doing, right? It's part of your life or who you are. But how did you go from being that young man in school to saying, hey, I'm gonna go? I mean, how did that come about, that transition from a schoolboy to now
Well, yeah, the
a
transition,
musician?
yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I was always singing. My first song I ever sang was I was like 5 and a half, and I was by Jose Alfredo Jimenez called Yo, you know. And I actually did a concert for my grandparents and my parents at that age. Este, and so it was a natural thing. And then, with my friends and everything, I would sing all the time. And I would sit in with bands that would come to Temple, and I would sit in with my brother Little Joe and the Latineers. But in 1962, I was working building bridges in Fort Worth, and we had another brother that played bass with the band, and he was killed in a car accident. But Jesse, but he's the one that called me and said, "Johnny, quit your job. You're now going to be in the band." So I
Quit
left.
your job.
Yeah, I left
I'm
Fort Worth, and Jesse hired me, and he told Joe, "Johnny's going to be in the band." So, and that's how I made the transition going into live performances as a band member. And
Wow,
it just went on, and we started recording, and it never never stopped.
that's incredible. And I know you mentioned to us when we did our little run through, here, you start recording and you take off with that. But How did that feel after you experienced? Because we've talked about different things happening as far as racism or how people were perceived, and a lot of our legends, it depends where they grew up. It depends where they grew up as to what they saw, what they
Yeah,
experienced personally when it came to the color of your skin or what your last name. And you had
yeah,
a a different experience growing up in Temple than I might have had in kindergarten in La Jolla ISD. You know,
yeah.
yours was
Oh
different,
yeah. Well, we were in Central Texas, totally different from border towns, and the KKK had their one of their meeting places about 4 miles outside of Temple. So, it's sad to talk about this because my nature is to like people. It just Pop was like that, a very gregarious person,
right?
and made friends everywhere, and we grew up seeing that, and it was just a natural thing. But I grew up in a racist world, and I'm in hardcore, and it was very, very difficult, and very little. We started picking up a few words, but when I went to the first grade, I didn't understand anything. As the and I had a very kind teacher, Miss Chaffin, was my first grade teacher. She was very kind and had a lot of patience. As the but I had to be. You go to school, you don't understand the language. You're wearing secondhand clothing, hand-me-downs, which the gabachitos ridicule you about, and and then you got to worry about what's the next fight gonna be with some little white boy because he calls me a dirty Mexican or something, and then what am I gonna do when an adult Anglo trashes me verbally and you can't retaliate? You know, that's what was on my mind 24/7. And you have to go to school and deal with that. And there were a handful of really kind and good friends, uh, white boys, that didn't like the way the other ones behaved and were kind to us. But generally speaking, you were always on your guard because anywhere you went, to the grocery store, to the downtown, to the movies, you were always like on guard because some Anglo was gonna insult you. And it took me
Right.
years to get out of that guard, on guard mode, and that didn't happen until really the 70s when we became hippies and became the hippie movement, and we saw a world of whites that were not like that, and the guard started to slowly come down to where I walk into a white establishment, a restaurant, and I was on not on guard, like it's gonna break out sooner or later. So it took a
Yeah.
long time because of the trauma that comes with living like that. We've been cutting everywhere in Corpus Christi, around Sinton and Mathis and Robe, and then Lubbock and Plainview and all of that. And we had to deal with that everywhere we went. And the ones that were nice to us were the Anglos that hired us to go pick their fields. They were good people. But generally speaking, the the white population was like that, you know. And
So there were
I
different,
don't
that was
like
different
having
times.
to admit
Yeah,
that, but it's the truth.
yeah.
Mhm.
Thankfully, those were different times, and
There was what?
I mean, we still see it, but it's not as bad as it maybe might have been. Um,
Right.
It's
and I
always
know, like,
been
I'm
there.
sure,
Yeah. It's all,
yeah, I'm sure
go ahead.
um, that you feel sometimes you feel even more the need to be like, I don't know how to say it, but more Mexican when you're around
Yes.
other cultures. You want to be more yourself.
Well,
You
just
Yes.
to
want
be
to,
proud of your
I
roots,
don't think it's the
Well,
perfect way to
Yes.
say this is who I am. this is what I do, this is where I come from. And
Mhm.
this music speaks for itself. Mr. Johnny, we're gonna address some of these.
Okay. Can I say one more thing before we
Yes.
address the people? I didn't bring that up. I don't the racism to kind of try to go back and dwell on negative things. I just thank you so much for sharing that
No,
because
oh
there's so
no,
many kids, teaching almost
no,
20 years. Kids don't know that. Kids don't know that anymore.
Yeah.
They learn about very
it's
vaguely
important.
civil rights in
If you read my
school, and it's
book,
important.
yeah, if you read my book,
Yeah.
I talk about it in the book because it's still there, but it's not as hardcore. Or the laws have changed, and they can't just abruptly, attack you like they used to when I was growing up. But it's still there. But there's a lot of good people in this world, and for every
Yeah.
one kind white little boy that was my friend, momentarily it erased all of the ugliness that comes with racism.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
That's
it takes positive of the whole thing.
yes. And
Yes.
thank you so much because again, kids they don't teach that in school anymore, and not to teach it to be negative about it, but to be aware because it helps us know about our roots. I know my dad experienced that, and hearing you have similar along with many other people experiences. It's important to know that because, like you mentioned, Gigi, it makes you more proud of who you are. Like you say, this is who I am, and this is where I come from, and it's okay to do that. So I think that's something to celebrate, and so I love that you shared that with us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
And
you.
we'll
Let's get to some
And just
comments
one
because
thing
we've
about
got a
what
lot
you
of people.
said,
I'm so
one thing
sorry.
about what you said right now, in school they would tell us, and they still do, I guess, don't speak Spanish, and we'd speak more Spanish
Here in
because
the
they told us
valley,
not
my
to.
mom and
They
dad
would
always
speak
talked
it more.
about that they were paddled if they spoke Spanish here in
Yes,
the
my
valley.
dad
Oh
has
yeah,
a really great
I
story.
got pedaled a lot.
Terrible
I earned
story.
a lot of pedaling. Yeah,
We've got Bobby
yeah.
Castañeda. He says
But
La
I'm proud of
Familia.
it. Like I say in my book, when I
Yes, I ordered your book, by the way. It comes in
what's that?
tomorrow. I ordered your book. It comes in tomorrow, so I'm excited to read it.
One
Hey, Lori, can you
one
can you
little
share
place
the
I
link to
say
get the
that
book so that other people
one
can
place
order
I
it?
say that there I go.
I'm sorry, what was that, Johnny?
Yes. Uh, well, it talks about my fans kept asking me to write my life story, and when you read it, you'll understand when I say that I'm the last person that would ever write a book because I couldn't concentrate. I didn't learn anything until later on in life, you know. And music has a lot to do with me learning the English language and stuff. But it talks about growing up. I went as far back as I could as a little boy, and it's not just about music. It's about my life story, the good and the bad,
Yes.
including bad things that bad habits that I picked up along the way that I did, and I don't spare myself. I don't despair anybody else, but I didn't hold back on me because I did a lot of things that I thought I was supposed to behave like that.
Uh-huh.
Machismo, for one thing,
Of course.
male machismo, it's wrong, you know, and you grow up the ancient methods around you, and you think that's the way to be. And one day, literally, I woke up and I thought, oh my God, I've been behaving like that. And I was embarrassed of myself. And I talk about that in the book. I talk about racism. I talk about la ganga, because I hung out with the street with the guys, and you go through that phase. And then a lot of things that are part of my life that I'm glad I survived.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I talk about joining and traveling and recording and all of that.
Mr. Hernandez, we need to get to some of these comments because we've got a lot of people chiming in. Thank you to everybody that's watching. Thank you to everybody that's commenting. Again, we can only see the ones that you comment on YouTube. and on Gigi La Chicana Guerrero page. So so sorry for that, but to everybody else, I've got Juan Mendoza Jr. He says, saludos Gigi, Lori Jean, and Tocayo Johnny from Tejano TV and Mas Chingon Radio. Again, I want to mention to you guys that Juan Mendoza just let us know that we have our own little channel on their Tejano TV channel. So, you can just watch us all day. Just watch us all day. If you have a day off, just watch us all day. So we've got Hilda Peña, saludos, Lori Maldonado. We've got Sandy Peña. We've got Imelda de la Cerda, tu amigo Pete. Bobby Castañeda said that La Familias LP para la Gente was a game changer, which elevated La Onda Chicana to a higher standard. Joe Gallardo's arrangements were very progressive and sophisticated. Thank you for that comment,
Yes.
Mr. Castañeda. Tu amigo Pete, talking about the racism, especially here in Central Texas, because more Anglos resided here more at that time. Luis Martinez says, saludos, my brother Johnny. Let's get hostile when you were talking about that. Let's see.
We have a little inside joke. Let's get it out now. Get it on.
Bobby Castaneda says, Johnny, you and your brothers inspired me as a musician. I had the honor of watching you perform at the Hollywood Palladium back when you had an afro. Total is all my... is my all-time favorite bolero. All right. We've got Tina Martinez, saludos. We've got El Supermex, Sam Lopez. He's also saludos, Gigi. Oh, that's me. Saludos, Johnny.
Oh, yes, mine.
Emma Hernandez, my bestie. Big fan of yours. Valentina Estrada says hello. Fabian Peña, Eddie Garza, Alex Villarreal. And that's all the ones I can get to, but thank you so much.
So I'm going to add the book cover on here because we're talking about your book. And since you're sharing, your experiences as a child, and of course there's much more in the book. I went on Amazon and I ordered it, and I ordered it quick because it said it was the last one. I'm sure there's other ways to order it. And I know you have a lot of other projects you're working on. So I'm so thankful to be talking about the beginning and your insights and perspectives. But I'm going to go ahead and share the book cover. Here's the book cover. And you kind of talked to us a little bit about why you called it an Odyssey. And I thought that was such a great title. Can you share with everyone why you called it an Odyssey? Because it sounds very like a Greek literature, like when you say, the Odyssey.
Well, actually, for us, it's sci-fi, the Odyssey, the Space Odyssey.
I'm sorry?
To me, it sounded like the 2001 Space Odyssey.
The title, I always knew. Yeah, I knew what the title was going to be from the beginning, and there's a reason for that. A cotton picker, because I'm a cotton picker, but also because I read Kirk Douglas's autobiography, and I always admired the actor, and what I really admired about him is that, we came from poor backgrounds, been in the cotton fields and everything, but his father was the person that would go around picking up clothing that other people threw away, and he'd clean them up and put them in a little wagon and go out and sell them. What did they call his father? The ragman, and he called his book The Ragman's Son. And I thought it was so brave, because he's a big star, and so humble of him to call it that in honor of his father, who was called the Ragman, instead of trying to hide it,
Right.
And I said, I'm going to call my book What I Am, a Cotton Picker. But because it goes through so many phases, that I had an epiphany in 1995, and I've been 100% clean and sober because I did a sweat with the Native Americans from New Mexico. And
Wow.
after I walked out of that sweat, it's been what 20 something years now, 100% clean and sober, you know, since
Wow.
1995. And that's the epiphany I had. And that threw me into a whole different set of circumstances in my life. So I became an account executive and all of that. But I never thought, you know. So when I got through with my book in 2015, I looked back and just checked out all the chapters and everything. I said, wow, you know. And then I added on to the title, The Cotton Picker, an Odyssey, because it's like walking through a maze in your life, you know, and there's so many different situations that that that's why I came up with the title, The Cotton Picker and Odyssey. And the picture's actually my grandson on the cover.
Oh,
How cool is that?
yeah. That's a great title. It's a great title because it's true, and we've talked to other
Yes,
legends.
thank you.
Lori's dad, you know how when they were actually migrants in the fields, and then they come back later, and they're the ones, the musicians playing in the shows for the migrants, and you know it was an odyssey for everybody, and they were traveling all over the place. So as you were as well,
Yeah.
that odyssey is like the perfect name because not only I guess they all have their odysseys.
Well, thank you.
All you pioneers, yeah.
And
Yes,
you know, a while ago you were talking about our roots and everything, and that's why I identify. How could I not identify with Cesar Chavez and the farm workers? I know what it is to be out there. You're picking cotton and you feel the heat come through the sole of your shoe, you know. And Jose Angel Gutierrez, este, La Raza Unida, and all of that struggle, you know. And then we did all the farm worker fundraisers that we did and marched a couple of times and got thrown in jail. Literally, Joe and I were
Wow.
walked off the stage at the Moody Center, the Moody Center in Galveston, because we were talking about all that, and they threw us in jail for a little while, and then we got rescued. You know.
so
Yeah.
let me add a little something here and kind of tell you, why interviewing you. One of the reasons why it's so exciting is, I remember taking a Chicano history class and then also a Chicana history class. And I was one of the older students, by the way, because I went back to school older because, I just did that. And so,
Because you had your own odyssey.
because I had my own odyssey.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I remember I loved those history classes. And the first thing my professors, I had these professors that were from the Brown Power Chicano movement, right? Oh, they were
Yes.
incredible. And I remember right off the
Ramsey
bat,
Munoz, Damian, and all of that. Yeah.
yes, and I was here at the time it was University of Texas Pan American, right? And so they said, one of my
Yeah.
professors, he said, learn this song, look it up, and analyze it, and look up this band because this is the Chicano movement theme song. And guess what song it was?
Las
Borrachera?
Nubes.
Las Nubes.
Oh, sorry.
No, Las Nubes, I would say. Yes.
Yes, it was Las
We
Nubes.
we
And
played at the Pan American. Yes. We performed
oh,
there at the Pan
wow.
American. At
Oh, well, it
the
was the University of Texas
we
Pan
went and
American.
performed there.
It was at the
Yes.
college. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I think I have a little delay. Um,
We all do.
it's
See,
yeah,
and
that song.
you mentioned a while ago uh, that Joe Gallardo did the charts and everything. Las Nubes was the first Tejano music polka ever to be recorded with live strings. We used Della Symphony strings to do that. And the album cover with the gentleman referenced a while ago as the had a double-headed eagle on it. And the significance of that was because we were into the the struggle de la raza and everything, and because we grew up in it. The double-headed eagle represented, first of all, me and Joe being family, you know, and singing duets and all the time and stuff. So la familia, you know, para la gente. But it also represented Chicanos and Mexicanos, our brothers. My parents come from Mexico. So it represented our Mexican Americans and Mexicans and Central America and South America, the family, you know. That's what that album was about, you know. That
Wow.
album cover, yeah. So
That is,
Las Nubes was, something that just really had never been done before, you know, to that level, you know.
yes, and I think that's why so many people could identify with it because and still do if they know about it. You know, there's kids, and I say if they know because we spend our days with kids in school and they don't know the struggles of their grandparents. And a lot of times, unless somebody shares it with them, and the state of Texas doesn't require it to be taught, and it's something to be celebrated. But when you talk about the, Chicano
Also,
and
al-
go ahead.
also Las Nubes, to me it's very spiritual, the lyrics, but there's a part there where it's giving people consejos, you know. Don't allow yourself to be caught up in the world of drugs or the world of vices, you know. Be careful. And that's a positive message, you know. So that's
Now, I have a question, and I know that you're a big Beatles fan. How much of that influence in the Beatles is in your songs? Because you write a lot of songs, and so what can we hear, or can you say, "Oh, well, this was influenced by this, or this was my favorite," and I thought about this one when I was writing that. Tell us.
yeah, that's a good question because there are two different bands or artists that changed my total mindset, you know, I don't have any proper training of any kind. And I remember writing my first song just like that. It's called And I Wait. We actually did strings on that. But, I was singing all the English material and feeding off of it. But when the Beatles came into the picture, I mean, my favorite Beatles song, and it's identified with Paul McCartney, but it's Yesterday. It's so
Mm,
profound, you
Yeah.
know. But the beauty of it is simple that anybody can understand it, but the message is so deep. Like I was talking about the newest, the vices. Don't get into the vices. So when
Right.
the Beatles came, and I listened to their way of writing and communicating, that was the first step of putting me into a different mindset. But when Chicago came out, that really just uh,
Really?
stopped everything. I said, wait a minute, this is the way
wow.
you should do that, you know.
Was it the horns? Was it all the
With the
horns?
horns and the whole orchestra and
And
casi.
that's when I wrote Chicago, you know. The way they write lyrics, and they do their horns like jazz oriented big band riffs on the horn section. It was a perfect band, you know. And does anybody know what time it is? You know, I mean, a title like that. Does anybody really know what time it is? So, este,
Catchy.
I wrote a song that I would have never called it what I did had not been for the Beatles and for Chicago. I haven't recorded it yet, but it's got an odd title to it. It's called "Dicen que yo estoy loco." You know, "Dicen que yo estoy loco." You know, I would never call it that. You know, but it got me into a different mindset of liberation, of say what you really want to say. You know, and the Beatles. I mean, who didn't they influence? You know.
Right. And
Yeah.
that title, it's just genuine when you call that, the title of your song. If you say that, it's a genuine, you're genuine, you know, it makes it real. And people
It
can identify like that.
explains the title as I sing it. I'm sorry. Yes, and as I sing the song, you know, you never. Why would you call it that? You know. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, we're excited to, you know, you said you've been working on so many different projects, and I think over the years there's so many to capture in this time. I know we end up going through about 2 hours on our show, but that wouldn't even be enough for everything that you have accomplished.
We've done part twos, and your dad said, Cecilio Garza said that maybe he's ready for part 3.
Yeah, really.
But I really love the video that we looked up that you mentioned to us. Would it be okay to play it now? The one.
Were you able to put it on, Lauren Jean?
Kind of
Yes.
breaking up.
Let me go. Oh, okay. Maybe it's our Wi-Fi. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, can you
You
hear
were
us?
breaking up a little bit, but what was that?
Oh, okay.
Now I can hear you.
Is it okay to show that video that we were discussing right before we went live? The
Oh,
one
that's
about
one of the projects. Yes.
interview? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share, you guys. This is a video about and we'll play this video. It's a really cool interview, and I thought it was super insightful. So let's see, one of the things that you've been doing in these last few years. Let's check it out together. I'm going to go ahead and share it with everybody.
Okay.
Here we go.
I was born into the cotton fields of Texas, along with my family. I consider myself a cotton picker who happens to do other things. Hearing the downbeat, when they kicked it off and it started playing, it just hit me. When the horns came, ba, 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 da, and it brought back all those feelings that I thought it would. I was into it from the get-go. No, so it was magic.
Ain't No Big Thing is a Chicano soul classic. It's one of the most recorded tunes, and it's just a staple. It's the jam. Johnny Hernandez is one of the pioneers, I think, of Latin soul. You know, one of the bigger names early on, right away, was Little Joe in the Latin era.
And I'm just thrilled to death because I recorded this song 53 years ago. And the beautiful thing about it is that revisiting it felt like home. I didn't lose it. It didn't lose me. It was still part of my DNA there, you know.
So I paired Johnny with a couple of friends of mine who are great, accomplished singers in their own right. Tomar Williams is an incredible soul singer, and Johnny Benavides, who's living in San Antonio, to me, kind of the heir to the throne, keeping the flame alive of the Chicano soul sound. Johnny was incredibly gracious with them, but they were both floored at how much Johnny is still belting it out.
There's nothing like today, a real live recording with the musicians right there next to you. That's the reality of music. You know. So it was a wonderful thing. This is a big thing.
Oh, that is awesome. We got some shout outs to Eulalio Reina, who's Don Lalo Reina, and he's the co-founder of Tejano Legend Pioneers organization, which is now boasting 27 chapters all over the United States and one in Mexico. He says, hello, Gigi, Lori, and Johnny de la Familia Reina, de parte de la Familia Reina. And so anybody out there interested, if you got legends in your area and want to start up a Tejano Legend Pioneers chapter in your area, give this guy a call, Eulalio Reina. He's got all the information. Saludos, Lori Maldonado. Lori had a question for you. She wants to know, Johnny, what would you say to the industry now? What would be your
with regards
consejos? I'm guessing music.
To the industry?
Lori? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is that there's a misconception about things, and it's not easy to talk about because all genres of music is beautiful. You know, they're all great, but as we started talking, going back to the beginning of Tejano music, the only thing I keep reiterating to people is that um, the great, beautiful, best conjuntos Tejanos, you know, going back to the beginning with the Conjunto Bernal and Tone La Rosa that I mentioned and others, este, have always been there, and hopefully they will always remain there, you know, and they do. You know, Johnny Rod y Los Cucuys, you know, is a fine example,
Mhm.
and conjuntos and norteño conjuntos, and there's a big difference, and they're both great genres, you know, but conjuntos have always been referred to as conjunto. It's never been referred to as Tejano conjunto or Mexican conjunto. It's just conjunto. When Isidro Lopez created Tejano music, it wasn't called Tejano in the beginning, but it was formed as a horn band. My only message that I keep trying to relate to everybody is that, you know, Tejano music is a horn band. That's how it was created. And I give the example Cajun music is very unique to itself. It was created by Cajuns. Tejano music was created by Tejanos. And now I'm glad to see that it's been reproduced in different states. And at first, it took them a several years and a couple of decades to assimilate and emulate it right on. And now it's being done, you know. But it was created by Tejanos, and but that's not why it's called Tejano music. I mean, we have American artists in Texas. We don't call them Tejano music. We have, you know, it's called Tejano music because it was created in a certain art form, and that's a horn band. And that's, I keep talking about that, and that's what I would say to the industry. You know, support your conjunto. You know, when we were picking cotton, we'd wake up 5:30 in the morning in los ranchos, you know, and you'd see through the darkness a light come on several miles away to your right and to your left, and even closer. And what would you hear? Los Alegres de Terán, Los Gorriones de
Mm.
Topo Chico, Jose Alfredo Jimenez, you know. And then I'd wake up at home in my black neighborhood and I'd hear, you know, the blues, and I'd hear uh, R&B, you know. Este, that is the beauty of being born in America, you know.
Yes.
So conjunto music is a foundation of Texas, you know, and American music de Texas. And Tejano music is the same thing. So that's what I say, you know.
That is that is really great. And it makes so much sense. And I love that you say that. That's the first thing you would hear when you would wake up. Um, but so thank you for that question to the that person that asked that question. I'm sorry, I already forgot the who was it. I forgot the name. Anyhow,
Lori
Lori,
Maldonado.
Lori.
Lori asked
I
that.
thought your name. Hello, I'm Lori.
Yeah.
Going back to the video that we showed, the person they were interviewing along with yourself and that song, that song is, I can't wait to just stick that in, play it over and over in my songs that I play in my playlist. But I love the word he said, Latin soul, Texas Latin soul. I have
Yes,
not heard many people say that. Usually you hear the word Latin, they start thinking of South America or someplace else. But he said
right.
Texas soul. That's like something unique
Yeah.
to hear, and exactly what you said
Adrian,
about
Adrian Quesada. Yeah, Adrian Quesada is the gentleman who produced that album. And he called me and he says, Johnny, I listened to, and I've been listening through the years. He said, you did all the English stuff with Little Joe and the Latineers and then La Familia. And there's a song that I'd like for you to do for this album that I'm producing to highlight Los Chicanos de Texas that are versatile. And among that versatility, would you like to do that song again? Because I recorded with the Latineers in the 60s. And I said, yes, I'd love to do it. And went into the studio in Austin and did it. And wow, a year later, he got a call uh, from the New York City Lincoln Center, the outdoor concerts, inviting him and all the artists that are on that album to go and perform at the Lincoln Center outdoor concerts. And I was only going to do that one song, Ain't No Big Thing. And Aaron Neville's brother had died a few days before we were going to do the concert. Aaron Neville recorded Tell It Like It Is, you know.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
so Adrian asked me, you know, uh, would you do Tell It Like It Is? You also recorded it, he said, years ago. Would you sing that as well and do two songs? I said, yeah, I'll be happy to. So when we did the concert, as I told the people, look, the gentleman just passed away, and we'd like to uh, pay honor to him, and we're gonna do Tell It Like It Is. So we did that, and then we did Ain't No Big Thing, and you know I've performed in a lot of places. I went to Germany, I went to Paris. I didn't perform in Paris, but I went to Paris, and but going to the I mean I went to the Hollywood Palladium, the Copacabana, and El Aragon in Chicago, and it goes on and on. You know, Houston, both big venues there, Astrodome and the other one. But when I went to the Lincoln Center in New York City, I was in awe. You know, it was like you had to pinch me to wake me up.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful experience. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Wow.
and you know what? Valentina and I went. She went with me. So we went out sightseeing, and the first thing I told the audience when I said hello to them at the concert, I said, I want to thank you, New Yorkers. I said, because you are some of the nicest people I've ever met. I said, we went out today, and it didn't matter where we were going, sightseeing. We approached a New Yorker, and immediately, oh, yes, sir. Look, just go over here. And if you do this, they were so kind and helpful, all of them. I said, you New Yorkers are beautiful. And they were, so it was
Wow.
a beautiful experience all the way around. Yeah.
Wow. Well, just see, hearing, sorry. My brother's little dog is playing with the toy. I'm gonna have to take the toy away from him. Sorry. Just hearing the words Lincoln Center, that's like an American. The place is iconic
Institute.
itself,
Yeah.
you know, and for you to be
Yes.
the face of Tejano, carrying that, and into what it's turned into, this Latin soul. That is what
Yes.
an incredible experience.
Yes. It one of the proudest moments I've had, and Tejanos, I love you to death. In the crowd were Tejanos, you know. Everywhere we've gone in the world, there's always been Tejanos there, and they are
Isn't
like
that
our
amazing?
foundation. They keep you rooted, your feet on the ground, you know. So they were there at the
Oh,
Lincoln Center.
wow, that is incredible. And that's important. Your roots are very important. And you guys
Yeah.
are part of that for so many people, like for all people of Mexican descent here. You guys were a part of that. I'm right now, and I apologize, I'm invading on my parents' kitchen. I shouldn't say that probably because I'm back at the rancho. We had a big party last night. We didn't go to sleep till after 2 in the morning. So
Of course.
That's why the show starts at noonish.
there's
Yeah.
there's you blurred out, Dad. He's
It's
already.
better.
I want to interrupt.
I have a question.
Sorry.
Me pescaron botaneando.
Okay.
It's Lori's dad, Cecilio Garza, by the way, de los casinos. One of the legends.
My uncle turned 75, and he was a Marine. You know, went through the Vietnam, war, and we had a big party for him last night. And like Dad said,
And may it continue forever. That is our culture.
Yes, with the music and the mesquite trees and all of that. So, sorry, back to you, Johnny.
Lori. Lori Martinez says, Johnny is the reason why I do what I do. Thank you for all your inspiration, brother Johnny. And there's a lot of those that you've inspired a lot of people. And I think you're definitely one of the people that we can look up to and say, yes, he is us. You are the face of us, and you're representing us in a good light. That's always so important, and you doing that, and by doing your music and keeping us in a good light, we're proud, and we're proud to, and that's where we should be. We should all be proud of each other, helping each other out, watching out for each other, because we are so unique. We are so unique. We've talked about this before. We're so unique. ¿A quién más vas a hablar que te estoy entendiendo ahorita cuando estás hablando en español? And I'll just switch over, and you know what the heck I just said.
Exactly. That's the way it is. And I'm honored to be, in the music business, and all the beautiful people I've met through the 62 years of doing this, and some of them are still around with us. And if it wasn't for the people, of course, it's a cliche and artists say it, but whenever I do interviews, I always say, you know what? You can have the best album in the world, but if nobody hears it on the radio or on TV, on now streaming, it's not going to do you a bit of good because nobody knows about it. And so thanks to all the DJs and the people that support it forever. I've done a couple of projects here lately that I'm very, very happy about. I'd like to mention one of them, if I may, at this time.
Yes, go ahead.
And it's Valentina Estrada. I produced her album. It's called Viajera. And it's such a great project. She's got this beautiful voice. And she did covers, and did them so beautifully. But the magic about it to me is she kept telling me, Johnny, can you write a song for me that says I'm this lady that goes through life and, loves to bring joy to people and, like a troubadour traveling through life and this and that. And I kept thinking about it. And then I said, you know what? To really get the right person to say what you want to say, I'm going to call a friend of mine, Beto Ramon.
Oh,
I said, yeah, that's great. So we worked together, and I called him. I said, Beto,
he can put some words together.
Oh, believe me. I said, we're on the phone with him, me and Valentina. And I said, Valentina would like for you to write a song for her about this lady that's a singer troubadour that goes through the world traveling. And I explained it to him, what she wanted to be said, on the song. And he was listening. And really, I talk about it all the time. And when I got through explaining, he said, give me 45 minutes. I said, what? Yeah, give me 45 minutes. Ahorita te la mando. Okay.
Wow.
So we hung up, and Valentina. Yeah, Valentina and I looked at each other. I said, my God. So I started timing it, I said, I'm going to time it.
A ver si es verdad.
40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes later, he called me. He said, I just sent it to you. Listen to it. He said, I can change anything, whatever you want. You just tell me, but listen to the first draft, And it was 40 minutes. And I said, okay, I'll call you right back. And Valentina were freaked out, so I think he texted to me, and we listened to it, and I called him back, and I said, Beto, don't change anything. You nailed it. And he did a beautiful job. And it's called Viajera, but his
Wow.
lyrics are profound, the melody. So Valentina called her album Viajera, and it's
Yeah.
out, of course, on all the, media outlets that people can
Uh-huh.
go and download it. And so Beto Ramon is a big part of our project there. And then,
Yes.
yeah, este, I got a brand new project that I haven't talked about. Whenever you're ready, I'll mention that.
I just want a quick shout out to Lencho Palacios. He is the administrator for the Tejano Legend Pioneers Chapter 1 in Corpus, the first one. He says, Saludos, Gigi, Lori, and my brother Johnny. Great interview. Johnny is a living Tejano Chicano music icon. Thank you for all your history and music, and your brother Little Joe that have recorded. So, yeah, it's big time what you do.
Yes, I'm very
There's Valentina. She says Beto Ramon is brilliant and amazing. I couldn't believe it. He made me cry. Oh, that means, yeah.
You did.
yes. So
You
everyone
did.
go and
She
look up
cried.
that song. Yes, Valentina
I'm sorry?
Estrada. Everyone can go find that song online. Like you mentioned, they can download it, on any music platform that they may have. So it's Valentina Estrada, Viajera. So I'm excited. I haven't heard that song. I'm going to have to look that up myself.
Well, you know it's good if Beto Ramon wrote it. So.
Absolutely. Yes.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to hear you said you have some news for us.
Yes, some breaking news.
All right,
Well,
everybody.
this is the first time to be mentioned, and it's on your program, so I'm very happy to do that.
Thank you.
You all know the great Tony Guerrero y La Sombra. Dear friend of mine, I've known him since they started their band, and we've performed together throughout the decades. And we decided to record a song together and sing a duet together. And that's the first time we do that. So I'm very happy about that. And it just came out of nowhere. Uh, excuse me, Tony and I were saying hello. And he said, hey, Johnny, let's do a song together. And he put it on a comment on Facebook.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
Yeah,
Just like that.
he just, yeah, just like that. Hey, Johnny, let's do a song together. Or we should do a song together. And
Wow.
then I went to his message on a private message, and I said, hey, Tony, that's a great idea. Let's do it, And he said, okay. And I said, okay. I said, you guys write a lot of great songs and everything, and just send me whatever you want, and we'll do it. And then we stopped the communication. And I had a song that I had written in 2016, I think. And just for the heck of it, I said, I sent it to him in Messenger, and I said, just for your information, I wrote this song, it's a positive message. It's about the musician, the artist, saying thank you to the audience. We love you, here to serve you. We appreciate you. We're here to give you our hearts and our soul. And we hope
Oh,
that we can bring a little joy into your life. So it's
Wow.
like a
I
song
love that message.
That's
That's
so nice.
literally what it's about.
I
It's,
love
uh,
that message.
we are here to be. We are your servant while we're on stage today.
Yes. Lori and I have
And I
talked
just
about that we're teachers, and that in teaching you don't get the hugs and the congratulations and the wow, you were awesome. It doesn't happen like it does in music. So that is a perfect song to sing to
it's
the fans.
the
Yes.
audience. It's a people friendly song on behalf of the artist. And to my surprise, I just sent it. I don't know. I said, I'm just going to send it to him. And I said, look, Tony, I'm just sending you the song for your information. But you guys write a lot better songs, so just send me one of yours. And right away, he messaged me back. He said, let's do it. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah,
Wow.
I like it. I said, okay. And I said, I'll tell you what, it's your project. Uh, Run with it. When you're ready, send me something that I can listen to, and we can harmonize with each other. And he said, I got to go to Florida, and I got to do some things for a couple of weeks. Este, um, as soon as I get back, I'll send you something. And Tony's a man of his word, let me tell you. A couple of weeks later, he sent me a demo to
Wow.
listen to, and it blew me away. And I said, "This is perfect, man." I said, "I love it." Este, let's do it. So, as we speak today, Sunday, tomorrow, Monday, I'm scheduled to go into the studio here in Modesto and do my voice and send it to Tony in San Antonio, and he'll do his harmony, and then we'll let the people know. He will let the people know when it'll be released. I'm thinking maybe October, November, is the, and
How
I'm very
exciting. How exciting.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're going to do the tracks over there where you're at and send them to him. We were talking about that a little while. Well, actually, you and Lori's dad were talking about how they couldn't have imagined that they could be saying hi to each other right now. You had to send a letter and wait for a couple of weeks and hope that the mailman didn't lose it.
Yes,
Especially
yeah.
out here in the little ranchos, your man would lose you.
So, yeah, well, you don't actually have to be in the same studio. Who told us that the beginning, the first times that they were recording, there would be one mic in the studio and everybody would just be singing and playing around it.
Yeah.
And so things
You
have
know
changed.
what? We did that. Our first recordings in San Antonio, it was 2 tracks, and the band had one microphone facing them, and Joe and I had one microphone for the both of us. 2
Oh
tracks.
my goodness.
But
So things have
my
changed a little.
album Aventurero, I recorded it in San Bernardino with a good friend of mine, Larry Tarin. We sent the tracks to Austin to get some horns recorded. They sent them back. I sent some of the tracks to LA for a friend of mine, Leo Luna, to do the trombone parts. And then I did my vocals. And then we mixed that everything. And then we sent it I think, to Austin to have it mastered. So, that's the beauty of
A
technology.
little different.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Well,
Wow.
congratulations for that collaboration. That seems to be the word of in the now, collaborating. People are collaborating with each other.
It is a
And that
collaboration.
is a perfect way for us to unite, and I think it's beautiful how there's different collaborations going on, and I mean that's a perfect way for us to join together, and for the people to enjoy each and every one of us, the artists, getting them
Yes.
together. I mean, it's really great. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and uh, surprised that they went ahead and took my song, which I'm honored, because they do write a lot of great songs. But I've known Tony since he started out, literally, and after all these years, we're doing a song together, and I have to give him a lot of respect and credit because he's so talented. He can play all the instruments. He can do engineering. He can write songs. He can do graphics. He can do it all.
Wow.
And so he's very talented. Yeah. So it'll be coming out pretty soon, and we'll give you all the heads up.
Yes, we'll be watching out for it. Bobby Castañeda says, Johnny, how did you meet Bob Gallarza? He used to write our horn charts back when he lived in Pacoima in the early 70s. Our keyboard player would take Tejano albums to him for the charts.
Wow.
Good question. Yeah, thank you. During the 70s, Little La Familia, we moved to San Jose, and then started doing all the concerts around. And we would do the Cesar Chavez concerts at the Berkeley Creek Theater, and uh, and then come to Southern to L.A. And in '74, uh, we were there like from '72 and go back and forth, but we'd take the whole band and live out there. Around '74, we moved the band to uh, Pa- uh, just outside of in San Fernando Valley, Pacoima. Yeah, Pacoima. That's right. And there was a guitar player in Los Angeles who was one of the few people playing Tejano music out there. Este, and he was a friend of Bob Gallarza. And Bob heard about us. He was playing with the Fifth Dimension at the time. And Robert Diaz, the guitar player who had his band out there, he was a fan of ours as well. He came to our dances and he helped us find some musicians in the area. And he said, "There's a friend of mine that would like to meet you guys." And we told him, bring him over to the rehearsal at the house where we're staying, and would love to meet him. And it was Bob Gallarza, and he was with the Fifth Dimension. So he came over and said hello, and he invited us to go to his concert at the Hollywood Palladium there in Hollywood, and he was with the Fifth Dimension, and we began to meet and talk music, and he and I hit it off immediately. Of course, Joe did too, but he liked some of the songs that I wrote, and we kind of communicated in the genres kind of thing, and we could talk shop very well together. So when he moved to San Antonio or to Texas, I think he was living in San Antonio at the time. He produced my first album on Capitol Emmy Records, and on Tal Rancho Grande, Díganle, and a lot of other stuff. And but that's how we met. And when we were living in San Fernando Valley, it wasn't Pacoima, it was another little town there nearby, and playing the area. And he wanted to meet us, so he started going to our dances, and we became very, very dear friends, Bob and I. I still miss him. I miss his conversations because he would call me and ask me things and about songs, and I would submit songs to him for his projects, and we'd always be talking on the phone, and I miss his conversations. So that's how we
Yes,
met.
and we've talked about this, how this show is so important to us, because our legends, our pioneers of la onda, of our music, they're up there in age, and we have lost a lot of them. So
Oh
this is
yes.
so important to us, and again, we want to thank you for for coming on and telling us your story, and this will be, for future generations, to maybe even, who knows, maybe a class in Tejano music and its beginnings, or the culture, that, where we know from the person themselves how they were influenced, how it happened, where they were, and this is so important, and Bob Gallarza obviously is a man also that influenced a lot of people. So as long as we're still talking about him, he is still an influence, as far
Oh,
as we're concerned.
he left a big legacy in Tejano music. He was a great producer and a dear friend, and I miss him. And but his music lives on.
Lives on.
I perform at Rancho Grande, and I perform Díganle as he took the arrangement we did with Little Joe that I recorded at Díganle first, and then embellished that arrangement, and he did an incredible job on Díganle. Este, so he will be with us forever, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a beautiful thing about being musicians that, I mean, you pass, my dad passed, but I watch his music, I watch his videos, I listen, and he's here. I'm hearing his voice. I'm watching him on TV when he came out on TV. He's still here. That's I think the magical part about being a musician is that when you leave, you are going to leave something here for everybody to cherish for years to come, and we have to
And
appreciate that.
I'm glad y'all are doing that because I on my album Aventurero I recorded sincerely, and Valentina did it on hers as well because we both love it. But the point I'm making is that the '50s music to me is my favorite, and big band orchestra. But the '50s, I recorded sincerely a few years ago. I've been listening to it since 1957,
Wow.
and the '50s music will never go away, will never die out because they take care of it, they preserve it, and they make sure it's available. And you
Yes.
guys are doing that, and that needs to be done, you know, with our music. You know.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. And I'm gonna go ahead and just briefly show. You mentioned your this album right here for anyone that wants to look that up. That's a picture that you sent me.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to, or if anybody hasn't, here's the cover of your oven. Looking, I love the hat. Always styling. Um, But yeah, we see that gap. Gigi and I mentioned we get to grow up with, and I mentioned it earlier, what our parents listened to and our grandparents and all that is influences. And it's carried in our culture and it's a part of who we are and our roots. But I want to talk about something you mentioned, and we talked about it in our
One
little
thing
run through.
I wanted to
Go
mention there
ahead.
was Canoga Park in California where Bob came to
Oh,
visit his first Canoga Park. I'll never forget
There
it
you go.
when he came in. But
wow.
anyway, yeah,
Well, it's kind of with what you're saying about California. We've talked to so many legends, and I love hearing things that, like that you mentioned, and that just when you mentioned about Chicago, Oscar Solis mentioned Chicago as well. And how
yeah.
the music you love. But let's talk about California. You mentioned about the Chicanos or the people in California and Texas, how they're different, and something that I have remember Mr. Abraham Quintanilla brought up about how there was so much happening in California with the Tejano music when they would tour as Los Dinos. And Joe Olguin as well has mentioned about California and the vibe, the culture, all of that in California. And you're out there. I mean, you decided to relocate.
Yeah.
How is that different? In your point of view, the music
Well,
and the people.
we started coming to California as little Joe and the Latin ears from the since the early '60s, you know, and traveled Southern California, Northern California, and the people are just amazingly beautiful out here. Lots of Tejanos, that came during the migrant years of working Salinas and Watsonville,
Yes,
and they're still there, and there's still cotton pickers there, you know, as the and las frutas that they have out here.
for
So we've been
sure.
coming out here for decades, and then of course, as little doing La Familia and continues. The reason I'm in Modesto is because my youngest son lives here,
Oh
and I
wow.
wanted to be, yeah, I wanted to be close to him as it was growing up, and and he's a grown man now, but that's why I actually moved out here, But I've got a
La
lot of friends
familia,
out here.
because of La
Yes,
familia.
exactly. Yeah, and right, exactly. And Chicanos, the Califas are Chicanos to the bone, just like Tejanos. But I think being in Texas, we were exposed to more Spanish language than they are, and they speak Spanish, but they're more American language uh, than oriented than we are. But uh, they went through the struggles, through racism, through all of that, uh, with Cesar Chavez and all of that, and that's the only difference. But they love Tejano music, Uh, they hire me to do some gigs around here, and I did I did a couple of concerts here recently, a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't Tejano concerts. They were general media, general music, English music concerts. And when uh, I sing a few songs with nationally known group Tierra, who are dear friends of mine.
That's incredible. I saw you post that video. If anybody hasn't followed you on
Yeah,
Facebook, look up Johnny Hernandez
yeah,
because he shares the
yeah,
coolest videos.
yeah, yeah. So I did some English material, but they requested, "Will you do Las Nubes?" I said sure. And then a couple of weeks later, closer to Modesto and Madera, about an hour from here, I did another concert that was not Tejano. It was English music oriented concert. And the guitar player, Ray Carrion, with Tierra, one of them, does productions on his own. And he calls them Ray Carrion and the All Star Latin Band. So he invited me to do some songs with him. And he said, but we'd like for you to do Las Nubes. So, it's English music concerts, but
Yeah.
they want to hear Las Nubes because of their Chicano in them and the tie of our
The
culture.
need to go back to their roots. Yes, the need
They,
to
they, they want
identify.
their roots.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I said,
Yes.
yeah, I'll be happy to do it. So we did Las Nubes among in the middle of all the English music. And I love it out here. They're wonderful people, and I get to go to Denver from here. I go to you know New Mexico, go back to Texas, go wherever. But like I said, um, my family is in Temple. Everybody, my kids grew up, and they always had each other. I grew up with siblings. We were 12. But my
Wow.
son, my
Yeah.
second marriage, he was an only child, so yeah, I wanted to be here. I was always close to uh, his mother. We're dear friends. And during the time that I didn't live here, I would always come and visit. And I told my son, one of these days I'm going to move in, and just and I did in 2010, and I'd go pick him up from elementary and take him with me, cook some tacos and whatever, cheeseburgers, and then walk him to his mother's.
Oh, wow.
I deliberately rented an apartment close to his school so that I could walk. But then it got late, so I'd drive him. And then he grew up, and then I did that with my grandkids.
Oh, how
Pick them up from school and
awesome.
drive 'em. Yeah. So that's why I moved out here, and but I visit my hometown and I visit other states. So I'm very fortunate. Gracias a Dios. So
Gracias a
that's the
Dios.
way it is.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you doing all those dad things and grandpa things. It's definitely something we all do. How many grandpas aren't out there picking up their kids at school? And I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. So I think it was very natural for you to eventually just move over there and just be closer to everybody. I mean,
And you know
I
what? All the years and decades traveling, we missed everything. We missed birthdays,
Wow.
Christmas, New Year's. We missed everything.
we know.
And now that I had more time, I started going to baseball games with the kids and football games, and it was like a whole different world for me. I bought
Yes.
the
Yeah.
the t-shirts and all of that stuff. So it was
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
we were
So
always on the road.
And
yes, and
that's
I like
part of the show is Giras,
Giras y
Yes,
Giras y
Desveladas.
exactly.
Desveladas. You're
So
explaining what
appropriate.
you've gone through with your kids. I know I joke with my dad. Not that I want to make him feel bad, but he wasn't able to go to the parent meetings or the shows or the performances or stuff like that, and
Right.
and that was part of it. And I think that's why we make such an effort now that we're, my parents are older, and we're older. That just like you say you have that time with your grandsons or your grandchildren,
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
and because it's a
I
different
never
life.
did that
You grow
before.
up with that.
Yeah. I never did it, and I was in awe. Like, wow. And
It's a
then my
different
son
world.
bought me yeah, they're giant fans, so he got me a giant T-shirt, and we're Cowboy fans, so we
Yeah.
wear the Cowboy shirts, but it was a whole different world for me. So
Yes.
now I
Well,
get
it
to do
was
that and still go to the concerts, here and there.
for people who don't know, you guys, that was your bread and butter, the holidays, the Thanksgivings, the Christmas dances, the New Year's, and all that stuff, all those real important dates. So us kids had to
Yeah,
hang out
I'm
with
I'm
other
very
people.
being on the road is incredible. It's not for everybody, and it's hard, immensely hard, and it's gracias a Dios, in 62 years of my career, that I remember, I only missed one gig because I was too ill. I got up and I fainted, so I didn't go to that one gig in 62 years. You have
Wow.
to be dedicated, you know. And my parents died. My father died, and we buried him, and during the week, and then we had the weekend, and hey, the way he would have wanted it, you go do the
Yeah, keep
gig.
on going.
You know, Nothing gets in the way of the gig. That's the
Yeah.
mindset. You know,
Yes. Yes.
that's
Yeah.
That
That's true.
is there a place that you liked, growing up, experiencing your traveling? And I know I'm kind of going back on this. When you, in your 62 years, that's incredible. Was there a place that was your favorite place that stood out more, in your tours, in your giras?
that's a really difficult question because there are certain towns. I mean, I love them all. You know, San Jose in California. You know what times we've had there. But I go back to really, aside from my hometown, of course, Beeville, Texas. I mean,
Interesting.
Mm,
El Viborón, Beeville, Texas. You know,
wow.
Love that.
Pe-
Yeah.
and then on the other side of the state, Pecos, Tarilas. All the towns have, like Pachucos, that we have nicknames.
Yes.
Beeville, you know, Pecos, and those are little towns. You know,
Yes.
uh, they were very, very close and dear to our hearts. But then you have Houston, and you have McAllen, and Corpus, and all the other. But for some reason, the little towns, uh, yeah, are like some of our favorite plazas that we used to go to.
Wow, that
I
is
know
so
my
cool.
dad used to mention. He mentioned in Colorado. I don't remember what town it was. He loved that town in Colorado. He said the people treated you like family there. Like
It,
he
it was probably Pueblo, Colorado, at the Anchor
yes,
Lounge.
yes,
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah, exactly. And he would say they treat you like family there. I don't know anybody, but they treat you like you related to them, and and he just loved that town. And he said someday when he would retire, he would move over there. I said, no, you're not.
oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful out there. But that goes with the culture. We'd be performing somewhere, and they would invite us to eat after the whole band in somebody's house.
Yeah.
We'd break down, as all bands break down. I don't care if you got a brand new car, van, or bus; they all break down. And
Yes.
somebody would come to our rescue, and they'd know the local mechanic and fix our vehicle so that we could keep going. And so we'd sleep overnight in their house while they were fixing our vehicle. That's our
Yeah,
culture. you know.
Exactly. We hear a lot of that where, after the gig, they all stayed there because they were going to play the weekend, and the people would just open up their houses to them. I mean, that's just amazing, and that's just another
Our culture.
our culture. That's just our culture. It's so beautiful. Shout out to Mr. Mando San Roman. He says, "Saludos, Gigi, Lori, and Johnny." Saludos, Mando San Roman.
Saludos.
Happy to have you on board.
Yes, thanks for watching.
Yes.
And you mentioned that, Johnny. You said that one of your favorite things about your experience in all these years is the friends that you've made along the way. These people letting you into their homes. Who lets an entire band? And I know we've said this before because my dad also, he knows people from Michigan or wherever that would say, no, we'd spend the night. They'd make us carne guisada and menudo and we would spend the night. Who does that? Like, that's so special.
Chicanos, not only Chicanos, but Tejanos do that.
Yes.
And they're all over the world. That is a Tejano thing. It's just, I mentioned, excuse me, I mentioned earlier growing up, listening to Pop sing and his brother and people always coming in and out of our homes. Well, there's at the beginning of my book, I write a little story called the Lupita Syndrome. Okay?
Oh,
and that's
interesting.
because the Lupita Syndrome.
Okay.
And it's because we had families that would visit us from Friday through Sunday. And se quedaba toda la familia in our home. I mean, everybody, you'd find kids on the floor in all the rooms and in the beds and sofas. Y los hombres se iban. They might leave Friday night and come back Sunday night, and there we are. And there was this, the whole family would spend the whole weekend with us. And there was this little girl. I never mentioned her last name, but I remember it. But she was so pretty. Morenita, ojos negros, pelo largo, black, I mentioned that in the song that I sing with Morenita and this and that. But Lupita, I was like, I couldn't get my eyes off of her. And I was like 5. She was like 5, and I was in love with her, but let me tell you, and 5.5 probably, and every time they came, I was like, oh my God, Lupita, and I'd watch her, and she kind of eyeball me every now and then. But one day, my grandfather lived at the opposite end of the block, had a little store, and they'd send me to get, queso or beans or whatever. And one day, Bob was singing there, and his brother. The house was packed, and as the music y todo and drinking, and Pop tells me, mijo, anda panca tu abuelito and bring me some chicle, bring me 2 packs of chicle, spearmint, I said, okay. So I walked to the store at the opposite end of the block, and I told my abuelito what Pop wanted, and he gave it to me. And he turned around. I turned around and started walking back, and halfway between the block, estaba Lupita. And oh my God, what is she doing? And she said, what are you doing? In Espanol, because we spoke Spanish. ¿Qué andas haciendo? Le llevo chicle a Pop, Oh, can I see it? I said, yeah. I had two packs. And she said, can I have one? And she grabbed it, And I didn't know what to say, I said, this is for my Pop. I said, it's for Pop. I'll give it to him, she said. Oh, okay. No problem. So she ran off in front of me. And when I got there, I took him back, and he says, ¿dónde está el otro paquete, mijo? Oh, pues Lupita te lo dio, ¿verdad? He said, no. And I said, I tried to explain that I'd given it to her, and she kept it.
Oh.
and then she denied it. She
La
denied
traición, so
it.
early in life, learning about las traiciones so early in life.
But let me tell you, I'm like 2 feet tall or whatever, and all I can look up and all I can see is giants. I think that they already knew she had it. ¿Me entiendes? They
Oh,
knew she had it, and they said no, they didn't give it. And I'm like, oh my God, how do I explain this? And they're all looking down at me, and I turn red, and I didn't know what to do. And I talk about that, and I call it the Lupita syndrome.
oh.
Ándale, por andar de enamorado. That's what you get.
Hey, well, maybe that influenced your experience with
Yeah.
betrayal and your
I write
song.
songs about it.
Exactly.
But I'm talking about the culture and la familia, and they stay overnight, and kids, and I laugh about it every time I think about it. But what happened was the grown-ups realized what had happened, and they played a joke on me, and they're gonna go along with it. No, she didn't give us anything. And I'm like, see, and I was kind of tartamudo as a kid. And I never forgot it. So when I said I'm going to go back to the beginning, as far as I can go back to write my book, I started when I said I remember when they used to take me, my older brothers or adults, and throw you in the air. You remember they do that with kids, with children, and I remember that. And then I remembered the Lupita syndrome. So I said, I'm going to talk about that, and that kicked
So
off my
funny.
book.
That kicked off the betrayal that made your poet's heart just write all these.
Yeah,
all these
yes,
songs
yes,
on
yeah.
betrayal. But it's funny you talk about the familia and everyone together and everybody, kids on the floor sleeping and being together for days.
Yeah.
You mentioned
yeah.
that y'all were, traveled around picking cotton. My dad was just saying yesterday, he was talking about some place outside of Marble Falls that they would spend the night, and that, they would camp out to wait for to go to work sometimes, and they'd have the troque. People would follow in their cars, and that the women and the children would sleep in the troque and the men would sleep underneath it.
When we were going to Corpus to pick cotton before the music scene, the traveling and stuff, we were kids. We made a stop. It was I think it was in Ali's, because I think that's where you make a turn there somewhere to go to Corpus. And it was where two roads would come together, and there was a service station in the middle of the Y. And we stopped there and we camped overnight, and then get up in the morning and go buy breakfast. Or back then you could buy in Plainview, Texas, West Texas, you'd buy 5 cheeseburgers for $1.
He just was talking about the cheeseburgers. He was just telling me about the cheeseburgers. I don't even know why we were talking about that.
If you take all the food away from me, if you say you only have one food to eat, it's going to have to be cheeseburger and fries.
Wow.
But
so the first time we spoke, I was thinking cheeseburgers. Yeah, you and I. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about it. And you said
I made great cheeseburgers at night.
Pile on the grill,
Yes.
Yeah.
With butter. With butter.
Oh my God, with butter. Never heard of that.
Anyway, you said that's.
And all that is inspiration for your songwriting y todo eso. I mean, it's all those backgrounds. I love that Lupita story, though, all the heartbreak and so early in life. And, part of our culture también is to play jokes on each other. I mean, oh my goodness, so.
Exactly. So then I recorded Por un Amor, my first biggest hit, and it's still going. It was a tragedy song, all you got to do is thank Lupita and you can sing this song,
Llore, llore.
Llore, llore, el rebelde, just thank Lupita and put your heart into it,
That Lupita.
Okay, you
Yes,
know, I'm
this
not
one's
gonna
for
lie.
you.
I kind of wanna go on Facebook and look up this Lupita. You would have to. No, I'm kidding. I won't stalk people. I'm curious. That's so funny.
I wonder if she
Yeah,
knows how much she influenced your life.
I don't know. I didn't mention her name out of
Right.
anonymity,
Out of
but
right.
I don't know if she's ever read it, but if she does, she's gonna know it's
She's
her.
gonna know, hey, that was me. Wait a minute, I
She's
remember I
gonna
tricked some kid
remember.
with chicle.
Yeah, she's
That
gonna
is
know.
so
She's gonna know.
I love that
That's
story.
funny.
That is so funny. But you know, like I mentioned earlier, to capture everything that you have done. I mean, over 60 years of being in this industry to help shape it, develop it, create it. We could go on and on. And we're so excited
I'd
that
like
you
to.
joined this.
I'd like to, talking about growing up y todo, I'd like to send out an apology to
To
a
Lupita.
girl, no, to another girl, and she was from Robstown, and
Ah,
I met her during the cotton picking days. They'd come to Temple, and we liked each other, and we wrote to each other back and forth. And then she wrote and said, it was nice meeting you, y todo. And I wrote back, but I lost total contact, and I didn't know how to write, and I apologize, for not writing better letters to you,
oh,
Anita. All these years it's bothered me, So
Oh
if,
wow.
if you're listening, you have my apologies.
We'll
wow.
accept the apology for her.
Thank you,
I'm sure,
thank
yes.
you.
I'm sure she's okay with it now.
Oh,
Listen,
Yeah.
Johnny Hernandez, we are actually going on our 2 hours. I told you this was gonna fly by.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
laughed because it happened
It's
so
been a
quickly.
pleasure.
It.
Really.
that's
Thank
good.
you so much. Well, it's been a pleasure
Yes.
for us. I know I can speak for Gigi for this, but having you on is so exciting. We're so thankful that we have had so many wonderful legends, and the stories that they share are so important. And we can't thank you enough. And I was really excited. I was nervous. I was a little nervous because there's so much. Where do you even start with
Yeah.
you? But I
Yeah.
love how so many of your stories, like Gigi mentioned, you guys, like, we can identify with you, and so many people can. And
Well,
you're still going, and you're creating, and we're excited to hear the new music, and
The
you
new
share.
collaboration with Tony
Yeah.
Guerrero.
yes.
Sombra. Yeah.
And the way you're playing concert with Dieta, I mean, those are people I only remember seeing, like, they are iconic in themselves, and here you guys just hit it off and do
And
your
you know
thing. I was
what? They are down to earth. They are beautiful, down to earth Chicanos. I knew their David Salas is the son of Rudy and nephew of Steve Salas, the two founders of Tierra. Together, as the and they were beautiful people, good friends of mine. And now that the legacy continues, it's called Tierra the Legacy, and they're doing a fabulous job of continuing the music that Tierra. So I'm very fortunate to be around a lot of good people like that, and people like yourselves that your roots are in music, both of you, you know, as the and you're continuing the awareness. It's an awareness, and
Yeah.
then it must be kept ongoing. However you explain it, different versions or whatever, but it is an awareness that needs to be, shared. And thank you for having me today. I really had fun, and I thank you for the questions, and to all the wonderful people that called in and said hello, and to all the fans all over the world, because they are all over the world. Thank you for supporting what I've done for 62 years now, and supporting my brothers, and supporting the other Tejano artists. We appreciate it, and we're very grateful to you.
Wonderful. And we appreciate you because your familia has brought us in, and we feel like we're a part of that. So thank you. And also Valentina Estrada, her music is also coming out. You produced her. She says, awesome interview. Thank you, Johnny, for sharing. Gigi and Lori, both of you are amazing. Thank you, Valentina. You're too kind. And keep up the incredible job for La Onda. God bless you. And you too, Valentina. I'm excited to hear your new music.
Hey, Linda, waiting for you to chime in.
Hi, Miss Linda. But yes, 2 hours went by too quickly. As I thought that
I wanted to thank you first of all, and it was Lori's connections that got you here. Thank you, Jesus, and there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason, right. And incredible story that you have. It's wonderful to us, and it's heartfelt to us because we feel so connected to your story because somos de los mismos. And I think that's what needs to be brought out, that to remind everybody that we're all, somos los mismos. I've got Valde Munoz. Hi, Valde. Say hello, Gigi and Lori. Wow. Congrats on your great show. My greatest respect to the great legendary Johnny Hernandez. No, Mr. Valde Munoz, we're still waiting for your part 2.
Valde, hello.
Yes. So thank you so much for I want to thank everybody that has chimed in. You came in through Facebook, if you came in through YouTube, if you came into Tejano TV, you can download the app Tejano TV or your tejanotv.com or Roku channel Tejano TV. We just found out that we have our own channel of Giras y Desveladas. So that is so awesome. So you can just watch us all day. Just watch us all day. Don't do anything else. Just watch us all day. And
there you go.
Thank you. Just watch us all day. Lori Jean, you are the awesomest co-host. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I was up late.
Wanted to announce it. I'm sorry. I tell you thank you and then
okay. You're fine.
I'm excited because I want to announce we're going to have a July 4th blowout interview weekend. I just wanted to announce it right now, and y'all have to watch. On Friday, July the 5th, si Dios quiere, we have Tacho Rivera. We're going to have Tacho Rivera on. Iconic. Then, July 7th at noon-ish, we're going to have the iconic David Lee Garza. Then, Sunday, 6 p.m., si Dios quiere, we have the iconic Elsa Garcia. So you all make sure to tune in. I am blessed beyond belief with the shows that we're having with the people that are coming on, because this music has to go on. My dad's music has to go on. The genre needs to go on, and that's what we're doing. That's what Lori and we're doing, is hoping that it stays relevant and it goes, and it doesn't go away, because it can't. Es de nosotros.
Yes, and thank you, Johnny. Oh, go ahead.
I asked Tony Guerrero if he would do your show with you, and he was gracious enough to say he'd be more than happy to. So that's Tony Guerrero de La Sombra. So
yes,
if you don't have his number, I'll give you his phone number if you don't have it, or I'll just text it to you.
I have it. I'll ask him. I hadn't thought about asking him, but now that he's got a new song out,
all right.
Yes, and we'll be in touch anyway. Yes, Johnny, because I'm going to read your book as soon as I get it, and I know I'm going to have questions.
If you have any questions, feel free to call me.
I'm really excited about that, because I'm working on some things on the side having to do with
this. So what was the title of your book? So people who want to look for it, what is the title of your book?
The Cotton Picker and Odyssey on Amazon. The Cotton Picker. And Odyssey.
There it is again.
A-N.
There it is.
There you go.
All right, everybody interested in that?
And Odyssey.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you, si Dios quiere, next week. Cuídense todos. God bless you all. Que Diosito los tenga todos en sus manos. And we'll be seeing each other soon. Take care.
And right there, Johnny.
Mr. Johnny Hernandez. We'll be right back.